Hello there. Welcome to another talk. Uh, and this talk is called Talk on Source / Heaven, Third Eye and Pineal Gland Activation, and the Power of Heart-Based Living. Now again, all my talks are meditations, and all the things I talk about are usually interlinked with each other. That's what I find as I'm talking about something. If it's a few things in the talk, I'll find that it's interlinked. And it is interlinked. You know, the pineal gland is... They say that it's like a little nut, I think, size of a peanut or something, in your brain. And, you know, what happened to me was I had an unexpected spiritual awakening. Just under 10 years ago, I'm 34 on my birthday. I was 24 when I had my spiritual awakening. And then, so if you're new to my stuff, that's how my journey started. And a few years ago, I started to do talks and videos and stuff. And I have done talks where I actually talk to the camera face to face, but I find that if I just put a picture on, I can, I don't know, like flow much easier, or some people would call it channel. And what am I channeling? Well, I'm just channeling me. You know, because that's all there is. I'm talking about the real me. If you think of it, everything has to come from a source, which is some people call heaven. And what is the real source? It's not a place, right? It's not a place, because the real source would come from a place where there's not a place, because eventually at some stage there has to be nothing or no place. And from that, to have life, you have to have awareness. It's pure awareness. Like people like Eckhart Tolle say, Alan Watts, David Icke. And what happened to me, unexpected spiritual awakening, and people told me at the start, I had a couple of family members that told me I sounded like David Icke, and at the start, I didn't even know who that was. But how's this interlinked with third eye? Well, third eye, when you spiritually awaken, what's happening is you're becoming more still and present. I was a completely opposite person to this awakening kind of personality. I was very excitable, liked excitable kind of drugs, and now I'm not too high, not too low, but somewhere you want to be somewhere in the middle. And this is why so many people report that they're tired and stuff. It's because you're using up too much energy. Now, the pineal gland, what does that do? Well, it gives you energy. Eventually, it means that the pineal gland is capable, because the pineal gland is an activator receiver, receiving information from Oversoul. But Oversoul is the middleman between you and Source. So you've got heaven. You can imagine Jesus' character if you want. And then you've got Oversoul, which is the receiver from that source, and that's giving you the information via the pineal gland. This also regulates things like serotonin and at night melatonin. So what you find is, as you're on this journey, and heart-based is related to it. Because in the spiritual awakening, when I had this awakening, I sat down one day and I had a feeling of having enough. I had enough. And it's such a, powerful experience that I just knew everything was going to change. I just had enough and everything was going to change from that moment. And what had actually happened is I was heart-based in that moment, but because I'd never been heart-based before, I had this awakening. It took me years to work out what had happened. I knew it was spiritual, but I didn't know it was called a spiritual awakening. And then I found out years later, through the internet, about Buddhism, and that Buddhism is saying this similar information, and that there's been other people forever on this planet that have had these kind of experiences. A lot of them based in India. And why is this happening? Why are people all around the planet having these awakenings? Well, because there's a change happening in humanity. That's why they're desperate to give you the mark. Because they want to stop an awakening. But you can't stop it, because everything comes from God, and everything is like a movie. A perfect movie that has been orchestrated by Source, you see. And so the baddies are even part of the movie. The whole point is for the experience, so as a spirit, as a soul, you can grow and understanding, because that's why you came here. You see? And so that's what people need to understand about Source, that Source creates all. You know, we're going somewhere, but we've already been there, kind of thing. That's how it is. We're going there, but we've already been there. It can be hard to, the thinking mind, the logical mind can struggle to understand that and comprehend it. You know, especially the academic mind, you know, the world worships. But what's happening now is, because people are having these spiritual awakenings, it's a different type of intelligence. It's called divine intelligence. You know, and that's not the intelligence of someone wiping a hand with hand sanitizer and looking around and virtue signaling to see if anyone's looking at them. It's a heart-based intelligence. Heart-based intelligence wouldn't do that. Heart-based intelligence won't obey authority. Right? And that's what's going on. Now, even if you've got, they say that over 51% of the population have had the mark. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because you only need about 20-30% of awake people to make a difference. You see? And the way is non-violence, non-compliance, and non-cooperation. That's the three rules to defeating this fascism. And ultimately just working with your heart center. Instead of being fear-based in your head, be heart-based. Right? And you'll realize there's nothing to fear. You see? People are snowflakes. What's a snowflake? A snowflake is someone that is in fear. That's why they act like that. That's why the ego becomes inflated. Because of fear. When we be heart-based, we get away from that, you see. We always think that something else or someone else can do something to us. But when you are heart-based, that's all spiritual awakening is. It's just that moment I had at the age of 24 where I was heart-based, and then everything changed. Then everything opened up. That's the only thing. And this is in science. In the Heart Math Institute in America, they have done science tests through this, and they've proved that through living by your heart, we can heal the world, basically. But a heart-based person will never get along with an ego-based person, because the ego-based person will get insecure. So the core of the problems on the planet, I keep saying it, is not things like narcissism and borderline personality disorder, which the two are related. So the cure for it, the solution, is to be heart-based. Stillness, presence, meditation, mindfulness meditation, which is just stillness and presence. And then what happens is that's all spiritual awakening done to me. I'm just giving it as I received it, and then things start opening up for you. You start to know what you should be eating, what you shouldn't be eating, what you shouldn't be drinking, what you shouldn't be consuming. Your intelligence level is receiving, your brain is receiving information from Oversoul because of the pineal gland being activated. But you start that activation process as soon as you live from your heart. Gut is related as well. When people say, oh, I trust my gut, it's related to that. That's why people's digestive system starts to change when they start spiritually awakening. Start having to eat more lighter foods, more vegetarian kind of foods. Because you got a chakra in your stomach as well. And ultimately this just brings bliss in your every waking experience. And sleep also. And because people talk about the afterlife, but surely, it doesn't matter where you go, you're left with what you are, what you feel in this present moment. There's no escape. You see? People want to escape. You've got to make your present life, this present moment, bliss, and then that'll be your heaven. And that's what heaven is. That's what the source of your satisfaction, as Eckhart Tolle says, is presence. When you're in the most joyful experience, you are present in that moment. You're not wanting anything else. A child at a fun fair is an example. They just want that moment, but because that's the source of it all. So it starts by living in your heart. When you're in your gut, that's related. It's all related. And when you start being like that, you start being more present. You start to have more energy. You feel more stimulated, and eventually it leads to bliss. Like I say, because this activates the pineal gland. And then your decision making with food you're having starts to change. Because like I said earlier, you're dealing with divine intelligence. Right? That's what you're dealing with. Because, and that's what's happened on the planet. There's a transition going on. And the system doesn't realize that it's part of the movie. The source of all life, you can think of God, heaven, Jesus. That is the thing that is the creator of the movie. And that is ultimately the real you. This is just your experience, but the real you comes from the source, and that's the real self. Right? Which is just absolute. Like David Icke says, and I'll just end on this note. Like the David Icke quote, "Infinite love is the only truth. Everything else is an illusion." And I'm just going to leave that there. For latest updates and talks, research, news, even songs, you can visit my website at www.lovelightfamily.com. Thank you.